Two heads, one tail. Yang yin. Three tails, old yin. Two heads, one tail. Yang yin. Two heads, one tail. Yang yin. Two heads, one tail. Yang yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. I'll start by reading a passage from Immortal Sisters. Secrets of Taoist Women. The writings and poems of 6 distinguished Taoist women adepts writing between the 4th and 12th centuries, including the legendary Sun Bu'er. Those translations shed light on the spiritual methods These translations shed light on the spiritual methods used by these women and illustrate the prominence of the feminine in Taoism. Flying by Sun Boer. At the right time, just out of the valley, you rise lightly into the spiritual firmament. The jade girl rides a blue phoenix. The gold boy offers a scarlet peach. One strums a brocade lute amidst the flowers. One plays jewel pipes under the moon. One day, immortal and mortal are separated, and you coolly cross the ocean. One mind produces the right concentration. Myriad forms are spontaneously arrayed. 5 energies are distributed through the quarters. The 5 energies are pregnant with one spirit. The one spirit pervades transformation, crystallizing and refining the original reality. The original reality is not something with form. It is neither existent nor non-existent. If people can penetrate this principle, then they'll understand the pearl that unifies sense experience. Poems by Wu-Wei. My mind is like a jade jar of ice, never invaded by even half a mote of dust. Though the jade jar be obscured without, I pay no mind at all. On the terrace of immortals, I climb straight to the highest level. Notes. Here, jade and ice are symbols of purity. Dust is a symbol of material sense objects. 2. Favor and disgrace are meaningless. What's the use of contending? Drifting clouds do not obstruct the shining moonlight. Let the ox and horse be called. To both I can respond. But how could I let a speck of dust into the city of mind? Notes. Drifting clouds are Confucian metaphors for status and wealth. Buddhist metaphors for delusion. The moonlight symbolizes the clear, cool light of enlightened awareness. The ox and horse are the ox head and horse face wardens of the underworld that reward good and punish evil. 3. My body lives in the city, but my essence dwells in the mountains. The affairs of a puppet play are not to be taken too seriously. When the polar mountain fits into a mustard seed, all the words in the universe may as well be erased. Notes. It is said that the great recluse lives in the city, while the lesser recluse lives in the mountain, emblematic of the idea that true transcendence does not depend on favorable external conditions. Mundane behaviors are described as affairs of a puppet play insofar as they are controlled by conditioning rather than by autonomous individual decisions. The image of the immense polar mountain fitting in a mustard seed comes from Buddhism and represents the attainment of mental freedom through experiential realization of universal relativity. Poems by Fan Yang-Kwai. The image of the creative is firmness, The virtue of the receptive is flexibility. Meditation is first sought in stabilization. With a clear ladleful of the water of the jade pond, why should the bright moon need the adornments of 7 jewels? Notes. The creative and the receptive are the father and mother signs of the classic I-ming, used in Taoism to represent energy and spirit, 2 main elements of the way. The jade pond is an allusion to the abode of the Queen Mother of the West, the leading feminine immortal believed to live in the Kunlun Mountains, the headquarters of earthly immortals. The bright moon is here again a symbol for pure awareness. The 7 jewels, a Buddhist expression, stand for the most splendid of external adornments. 2. Dragon and tiger, monkey and horse. They take effort to corral. Let them fly and leap a little bit, and their actions obstruct and obscure. By perfect silence, being as is, a method truly sublime, capture and transform them into a heavenly wind. Notes. The dragon and tiger stand for yin and yang, or spirit and energy. The monkey and horse stand for mind and intellect, particularly in the sense of being unruly. Being as is, a Buddhist expression, refers to silencing mental conversation and facing reality as it is without the superimposition of conceptual constructs. The heavenly wind is a crypticism for the I-ming sign of the creative, which is associated with celestial energy and with the sublimated mind. 3. To nurture essence, first quiet the mind. Why bother seeking skill with thread and needle anymore? When you lead the iron ox to go along with you, then you reveal the depth of boundless wisdom's deeds. Notes. Seeking skill was an ancient ritual performed on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month when housewives would pray for skill in domestic handiwork. The iron ox is a Buddhist metaphor for immutability or imperturbability. 4. What's the need to bow and pray to beg for long life? Clearly, the original spirit is thoroughly pure. Shatter space to become completely free, and wishing jewels and relics are all empty names. Notes. To shatter space is the final step of a traditional progression of Taoist practice. Refine vitality into energy, refine energy into spirit, refine spirit into space. Shatter space to merge with the Tao. Wishing jewels is a Buddhist expression. The wishing jewel, which grants whatever is desired, is a metaphor for the liberated mind. Relic is also originally a Buddhist term, but is used in Taoism with a special meaning, referring to the crystallization of energy and spirit. That these ultimately become empty names means that the process is transcended and there is no more attachment to causes and effects. 5. In one golden room lives a pair of beauties. Whoever acts at whimsy is not sincere at heart. If you can produce a sun within the moon, the black dragon spews forth the luminous pearl. Notes. The golden room stands for the human being purified by spiritual alchemy. The pair of beauties refers to yin and yang, spirit and energy, essence and life. The sun within the moon stands for real knowledge within consciousness. The black dragon is a Buddhist term for the occult recesses of the mind within which is hidden the luminous pearl of the potential of enlightenment. 6. Waves of the river of affection rise layer upon layer. When it is intense, you sink. When it is light, you rise. drumming the oars, if you can exercise bold determination, the weak water of the Isle of Immortals will not fail to buoy you up. Notes. The weak water of the Isle of Immortals refers to a deep body of water encircling this legendary abode of high Taoist adepts. It is called weak because it is said that nothing with any weight can float on it. So it presents an unsurmountable barrier to those who retain worldly grossness. Bottom or inner trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, 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 which is the trigram Kun, earth. Kun is earth, open to receive and support what comes to her. Providing for its full development, she makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in an unconditional embrace. Earth is mother, found in the southwest in the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. Our primary hexagram will be Kun Earth above Kun Earth, which will give us the hexagram. Two. Once our second line, which is an old yin, transforms, it'll transform to yang, and that will give us a bottom trigram of our secondary or supporting hexagram of broken, solid, broken, which is Kan, water. Kan is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. So our secondary or supporting hexagram will be earth above water, or Kun above Kan, which gives us hexagram 7. The way the question that we bring to the I Ching when we consult the oracle works in its answer, that question being having the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits and forces shaping this moment of time. The answer will be understood when we know how the parts of our reading work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. We will begin reading from the Taoist I-ming, which was written by I-ming in 1796 as a Taoist adept, and Thomas Cleary has translated it for us. Our hexagrams again are 2 as our primary and 7 as our supporting. 2 is Earth. One of the 4 timeless hexagrams, pure yin, represents receptivity, submission, humility, obedience, yielding, flexibility, stillness, essence, innate capacity. And 7, the army, using the primordial to repel conditioning, using the real to get rid of the false. We'll read from the commentary on each of our hexagrams, including changing line 2 of hexagram 2, our primary hexagram, and then we'll move on. Well, that's actually from the text section, rather. Then we'll move on to the commentary section, which doesn't contain our changing lines. So we'll need to remember that when we move past our changing lines to more commentary, our changing lines were our most focused part of our reading. Hexagram 2, Earth. With Earth, creativity and development are achieved in the faithfulness of the female horse. The superior person has somewhere to go. Taking the lead, one goes astray. Following, one finds the master. It is beneficial to gain companionship in the southwest and lose companionship in the northeast. Stability and rectitude is good. Explanation. Earth is submissive. It means flexible, receptive humility. In the body of the hexagram, all 6 lines are even. This represents pure yin, so it is called Earth. This hexagram represents convergence in yin, whereby the science of cultivating essence practices submission and receptivity and uses the path of flexibility. Nothing is more submissive than Earth. Earth is originally pure yin and cannot produce or develop things. The reason it does produce and develop myriad things is that it is receptive to the yang energy of heaven, producing and developing by progression and recession. This Earth originally does not create or develop. Its achievement of creativity and development lies in its capacity for faithfulness. The receptivity of Earth to heaven cannot be seen, but the receptivity of Earth can be known by observing the submissiveness of a female horse. Female is a general term for the flexibility of yin. Whatever is yin in something is classified as female. A horse is something that travels strongly. When a mare follows a stallion, the mare can go wherever the stallion goes. So though it is gentle, it is also strong. The benefit of the faithfulness of the receptivity of Earth is like the benefit of the faithfulness of the female horse. Human beings receive the yin energy of Earth and take form thereby. So they have this quality of flexible receptivity. When people are born, this quality of flexible receptivity is their innate capacity. When this capacity mixes with temporal acquired conditioning, It is confined by temperament and stained by accumulated habits. So people do not obey what they should obey, and instead obey their desires. So innate capacity turns into artificial capacity. When sages teach people to travel the path of submission, this starts from artificial submission and changes into true submission, returning to the pristine state of unconscious obedience to the laws of God. Therefore, one goes astray. Following, one finds the master. Firmness is the master of flexibility. Firmness is able to govern flexibility, whereas flexibility cannot govern firmness. It just follows the firm obediently. Yielding obedience to strength is not only a matter of the incapable following the capable, reforming error and returning to rectitude, changing wrong and taking to right, maintaining truth and getting rid of falsehood is all a matter of the human mind submitting to the mind of Tao. This is all represented in terms of the flexible obeying the firm. Taking the lead, one goes astray, means that when you act through the human mentality, the mind of Tao is buried away. Following human desires, you damage the real by falsehood, losing the master by going astray. Following, one finds the master, means that when you act through the mind of Tao, the human mind is peaceful and quiet, obedient to natural principle, extinguishing falsehood by reality, finding the master and not straying. If people can develop understanding from confusion, make yin follow yang, use the human mind to return to the mind of Tao, use the mind of Tao to govern the human mind, finding the master after they had previously lost it, even if they are stupid, they will become illumined, and even if they are weak, they will become strong. In the path of submission, nothing is greater than earth. For a symbol of receptivity, nothing is more obvious than the moon. The moon is basically pure yin with no yang. It meets the sun in the spacious heights, travels to the southwest, the position of earth, and on the third day of the lunar month gives off a light like a wispy eyebrow, producing the yang spirit within the yin spirit. This is called gaining companionship. On the 15th day, the moonlight waxes full. On the 16th, the sunlight begins to shift away gradually, and the moonlight henceforth begins to wane, producing the yin spirit within the yang spirit. When it reaches northeast, the position of mountain, on the 28th day, the remaining light vanishes. This is called losing companionship. The moonlight appears in the southwest. Yin follows the advance of yang. The moonlight disappears in the northeast. Yin follows the receding of yang. When yang advances, the moon brightens. When yang recedes, the moon darkens. The brightening and darkening of the moon also follows the advance and withdrawal of the sun. If superior people practicing the Tao are able to be like the moon following the sun when they travel the path of flexibility by means of submission, then they know what gain and loss are, and they are effective in advancing as well as in withdrawing. What is efficacy? It is effectiveness in submission to what is right, most effective in abiding in faithfulness to rectitude. Only thus is it an auspicious path that is sound in the beginning and sound at the end. Stability in rectitude means resting in what is right. One is at peace because of rectitude and rests in what is appropriate. One aims for the submission of unruliness, the rectification of error, cultivating oneself and controlling the mind, getting rid of all seeds of vicious circles, not letting any pollution remain in the mind, being utterly empty, serene and sincere. The human mentality does not arise and the mind of Tao comes into being. After rectitude comes creativity. And while flexible, one is firm. And while receptive, one can be strong. Whatever one creates grows. Whatever grows bears fruit. And the fruits are all good. So the submission and receptivity of abiding in rectitude is no small matter. Our supporting hexagram 7. The army. For the leader of the army to be right, a mature person is good, then there is no error. Explanation. The army is a group. This has the meaning of one person leading a group. The qualities of the hexagram are earth above, submissive, and water below, dangerous. Following obediently in danger, it is therefore called the army. This hexagram represents using yang to drive back yin. It follows on the previous hexagram, waiting. Waiting is advancing yang in accord with the time, and advancing yang is the way to drive yin back. The method of repelling yin is to get rid of wrong by means of right, to destroy falsehood by truth, like righteousness in the leader of an army. The leader of the army is the way of punishment and execution. It requires both firmness and flexibility, both humanity and justice, command of authority and ability to change in order to be effective. Otherwise, if one can be firm but not flexible, or if one is only humane and does not know how to apply justice, or if one is only dutiful and does not know how to act humanely, none of this is right, and without correctness, good fortune cannot be attained. Instead, one will provoke censure. Only mature and developed people understand good and bad, distinguish wrong from right, know what bodes well and what bodes ill, perceive when to hurry and when to relax, are not confined to either firmness or flexibility, apply both humanity and justice together, are able to obey in danger and by obedience neutralize danger, use the temporal to restore the primordial, use the primordial to transmute the temporal. Not only do not let yin trap yang, but even get all yin to follow yang. This is the path of good fortune without error. If people are immature, their perception of truth is not clear. They do not distinguish wrong from right, and so enter aberrated detours. They set out impulsively and not only are unable to make yin retreat, they even accentuate yin. They are sure to bring on error. How can they affect good results and achieve the Tao? When people have not yet lost the primordial, this is pure natural reality. It is like when the nation is at peace. Even if there are intelligent knights and good generals, there is no need of them. Then when people get mixed up in acquired conditioning, their senses trouble them and their emotions run wild. It is like when there is trouble in the land, with rebels causing disturbance. If there is no way of rooting them out by punishment and execution, it is impossible to restore peace in perilous times. Therefore, the method of striving in spiritual alchemy is to burn away all the pollution of acquired conditioning and not let the slightest flaw remain in the heart, so that one may eventually re-experience original completeness. This is why the path of direction is valued. back to Hexagram 2, Earth, to read Changing Line 2, which will have the general context of the heart's perception, the emotional center, where you make and feel connections. This is our most focused part of the reading. Changing Line 2 of Hexagram 2, Earth. Straightforward, correct, great, unfailing achievement without practice. Explanation. Flexible receptivity is balanced correctly. By being balanced, the mind is straightforward and capable of prudence and care. Being correct, one's activities are orderly. Inwardly straightforward, outwardly correct, following rules and acting in accord with guidelines, one can naturally make good works great. Therefore, the text says, unfailing achievement without practice. We'll now read from the commentary section on both of our hexagrams. Hexagram 2, Earth. Earth above, Earth below. The configuration of Earth is receptive. Superior people support others with warmth. Earth is the ground. Its quality is receptivity. In this image, Earth is above and below. The earth above is the high places. The earth below is the low places. This is the image of receptivity, the configuration of Earth being high and low. What superior people see in this is that since humans are born with the energy of Earth, they have this earthy quality of receptivity. Because of this, once their intellect is activated, they misuse intelligence and follow what should not be followed. Obeying the temperament, they lose the essence of pure innocence. Inwardly unable to empty themselves, outwardly they cannot admit others. Taking the artificial to be real, taking misery for pleasure, in the end they pass away. Therefore the wise take as their model the receptivity of Earth, and bear others with warmth. Warmth is the quality of receptivity, which is inner openness and outward genuineness. Only by receptivity can one be open. Only by warmth can one be genuine. Inner openness means emptying the mind. By emptying the mind, one can accept others. Outward genuineness means genuine action. By genuine action, one can respond to others. Accepting others and responding to others is being able to support others. There being no end of people, there is no end to support. One becomes warmer the more support one gives, and one is able to be more supportive as one becomes warmer. The ability of superior people to support others means that superior people have the quality of warmth. However, if one is supportive of others in favorable circumstances but not in adverse circumstances, this is not called warmth. Strong exertion outwardly without inner openness is not called warmth. The warmth that is supportive of others requires genuine practice, true application, bearing insult and attack, bearing all difficulty, hardship, sickness, and calamity, just as the earth bears the mountains, as the ocean takes in the rivers, as the plants and trees endure injury. Such is the warmth of the earth. Such too is the warmth of superior people. This is how the earth bears things, and how the superior person bears things too. The work of cultivating one's nature is summed up in warmth. This is the science of taking earth as a model. In our supporting hexagram 7, the army, earth above, water below. There is water in the earth, the army. Thus does the superior person embrace the people and nurture the masses. The army is one leading a multitude. Above is earth, below is water. This is the presence of water in the earth. The earth is broad, water is wet. In the earth there is water. One earth embraces myriad waters. Myriad waters moisten one earth. This is the image of the army. What superior people see in this is that the human body is like a country, and the mind is like the ruler. The vitality, spirit, nature, feeling, and energy in the body are like the people. The benevolence, justice, courtesy, knowledge, and truthfulness in the nature are like the masses. These people, these masses, are the basis of human life and must be protected and cared for. Therefore, the root is stabilized by embracing the people. External afflictions are prevented by nurturing the masses. But it is first necessary to embrace the people, in the sense of first mastering oneself inwardly. After that, one nurtures the masses, in the sense of managing externally. Inward mastery protects one from externals. Managing externally affords one inner peace. When the inner and the outer balance each other, then everything follows the mind, whether in adversity or comfort. Such is the path of the leader of the army, and such is the path of the superior person embracing and nurturing. We'll now read from James Dekorne. I've left links to his site with each of the hexagrams in the description box below. Hexagram 2 he calls the magnetic. Other titles might be the receptive, the symbol of earth, submission, the passive, principle, field, the flow, responsive service, yin, natural response, the bearer, judgment, leg. The magnetic means success through the docility of a mare. If the superior man takes the initiative, he goes astray, but if he follows, he finds his proper lord. It is advantageous to find one's friends in the southwest and to lose them in the northeast. Through a passively firm correctness, there will be good fortune. Blowfold, the passive principle, sublime success. Its omen is a mare, symbolizing advantage. The superior man has an objective and sets forth to gain it. At first he goes astray, but later finds his bearings. It is advantageous to gain friends in the west and the south, but friends in the east and the north will be lost to us. Peaceful and righteous persistence brings good fortune. Ritsuma/Karcher, field, spring growing, harvesting, female horse's trial. A chunsu, or chief son, or superior person, possesses directed going. Beforehand delusion, afterwards acquiring. A lord harvesting, western south acquiring, partnering, eastern north losing, partnering. Quiet trial significant. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the primal structuring power confronted with many forces and obstacles. It emphasizes that giving way in order to serve and yield results, the action of field, is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to yield. The image. Leg. The capacity and sustaining power of the earth is shown in the magnetic. The superior man supports men and things with his large virtue. Ritsuma/Karcher, earth potency, field. A chunsu, chief son or superior person, uses munificent, actualizing Tao to carry the beings. Actualized Tao is the ability to follow the course traced by the ongoing process of the cosmos, linked with acquire. D, acquiring that which makes a being become what it is meant to be. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. All things owe their birth to the great originating capacity of the magnetic. It obediently receives the influences of heaven. Its largeness contains and supports all things, and its capacity matches the unlimited power of the dynamic. Its comprehension is wide, its brilliance great, and through it all things are fully developed. The mare is a creature of the earth with a limitless power to traverse the land. She is mild and docile, with stamina and capacity for work. Such is the path of the superior man. If he takes the initiative, he loses his way. If he follows, he finds it again. In the southwest, he will walk with his own kind. To lose friends in the northeast means he is well rid of them. The passively firm correctness of the superior man imitates the unlimited capacity of the earth. Leg. The same attributes are ascribed to the magnetic as in the former hexagram to the dynamic, but with a difference. The dynamic originates, the magnetic produces or gives birth to what has been originated. This figure, made of 6 divided lines, symbolizes the idea of subordination and docility. The superior man described here must not take the initiative, and by following he will find his lord, the subject of the dynamic. The firm correctness is analogous to a mare, docile and strong, but a creature for the service of man. That it is not the sex of the animal which is paramount is plain from the mention of the superior man and his lord. The superior man will bring his friends with him to serve the ruler. The southwest is the direction proper for the magnetic. The northeast is the direction proper for the trigram of the mountain, hence a direction of obstruction and impasse, the opposite of magnetic receptivity. Thus the injunction to seek friends who are receptive and shun those who are recalcitrant. Concerning the image, Lin Hsi Yan says, "The superior man in his single person sustains the burden of all under the sky. The common people depend on him for their rest and enjoyment. Birds and beasts and creeping things and the tribes of the vegetable kingdom depend on him for the fulfillment of their destined being. If he be of a narrow mind and cold virtue, how can he help them? Their hope in him would be in vain." Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. The ego bears the burden of the work. Success is found in compliance with the will of the self. The superior man supports the work through its many transformations. In terms of the symbolism of the work, the second hexagram clearly shows the proper role of the ego as one of receptivity to the will of the self. The sexual, male-female metaphor must be interpreted as one of polarity. The ego, inhabiting a physical body, is the psychological link which connects the material dimension of space-time with the world of thought where the self resides. To be receptive to the influence of the self is to allow its energy to work through the ego body to attain its purpose. This earth-like receptivity is seen as a feminine quality, as the heavenly dynamic force emanating from the self is seen as masculine. Earth means the body in space-time, and heaven means the realm of thought transcending space-time. The pleroma of the Gnostics, which Jung referred to as the collective unconscious. The concept is also found in the Kabbalah. A quote from P.F. Case in the Book of Tokens. "I am the door of life, the passage from the world of ideas into the world of form. Now, as Deleth, the door, I present myself as the portal through which life, eternal and unbounded, entereth the realm of temporal and limited creation. I am the fruitful womb whence all creatures have their birth." The message in the judgment clearly indicates the ego's proper role. If the superior man takes the initiative, he goes astray. This is supplemented by the image of a docile mare which uncomplainingly bears its load. Indeed, during certain phases of the work, it becomes painfully obvious that the ego really is just a beast of burden. The self is beyond our full comprehension, and at times it uses us as if we were an expendable tool, which, to a certain extent, we are. Only by realizing that our existence in space-time consists mostly of illusions, and that the self is the only real thing in our lives, can we come to accept the work as the duty we were created to perform. Suggestions for meditation. Compare the ego-self relationship in hexagrams 1 and 2 with that in hexagrams 7 and 8. And our supporting hexagram 7, which is discipline, he calls it, and other titles might be the army, the symbol of multitude and of army, legions, leading, the troops, collective force, discipline, soldiers, group action, a disciplined multitude, ego discipline, willpower, can refer to mourning, but its essential meaning is discipline, D.F. Hook. Judgment. Leg. Discipline indicates that with firm correctness and a leader of age and experience, there will be good fortune and no error. Blowfold. Persistence in a righteous course brings to those in authority good fortune and freedom from error. If the inquirer is not concerned with military affairs, we must interpret this hexagram symbolically in the sense that life is a battle. Ritzema/Karcher. Legions, trial. Respectable people, significant, without fault. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of unorganized crowds or bunches of things. It emphasizes that organizing these things into functional units is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to lead. The image, leg. Water in the midst of the earth, the image of discipline. The superior man nourishes and educates the people and collects from among them a mighty army. Wu. There is water underneath the ground. This is the army. Thus the Junzi, or superior person, or chief son, receives people and shelters them. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Discipline describes the masses who make up the army, and the firm correctness referred to means a morally correct intent. When the leader uses the masses with such correctness, he may fulfill the ruler's will. The focus of strength in the second line is responded to by his proper correlate in the ruler's place, which is line 5. Although action is dangerous, it accords with the best sentiments of men. And although the leader may distress the country, the people will still follow him. There will be good fortune and no error. Leg. Discipline is symbolized here by the conduct of a military expedition. The arrangement of the lines suggests the idea of a general surrounded by his troops. The dynamic yang line in the center of the lower trigram has the confidence of the magnetic ruler in the 5th place. Entire trust is reposed in him because he is strong and correct. He is referred to as an old and experienced man, hence all of his enterprises will succeed. Perilousness is the attribute of the lower trigram, and docility or accordance with others that of the upper. War is like a poison to a country, painful and potentially ruinous, and yet the people will endure it on behalf of the sovereign whom they love and respect. In regard to the image, Chu Hsi says, as the water is not outside the earth, so soldiers are not outside the people. Therefore, if a ruler is able to nourish the people, he can get the multitudes for his armies. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Discipline directed by willpower and serious intent advances the work. Or, with experienced judgment and proper will and intent, there will be a good outcome. The superior man trains and nourishes his powers to build an invincible unity. The English word infantry, meaning foot soldiers, the backbone of any army, is derived from the French word enfant, meaning infant or child. This ancient association was made because a good military officer was expected to treat his soldiers as if they were his own children, with a stern but loving discipline designed to improve their character. This concept is what the image alludes to when it says, "The superior man nourishes and educates the people and collects from them among them a mighty army." Psychologically interpreted, the idea is that the ego complex is the general officer in the second line that nourishes, educates, and controls discipline, and thus I have chosen that name for the hexagram rather than the more usual title of the army. With the only dynamic line of the hexagram placed in the center of the lower trigram, we have an image of the position of the ego complex in relation to the rest of the psyche. The magnetic ruler in line 5 represents the self, isolated from direct physical involvement and dependent upon the dynamic ego to carry out the work in the material dimension. The 7th hexagram, therefore, shows the work from the ego's point of view. Hexagram number 8, holding together, is the inverse of this image and shows the work from the self's point of view, outside of space-time. There, it is the dynamic 5th line ruler who is the focal point, an image of the self surrounded by its satellites. In that dimension, the 2nd line ego complex is only another magnetic complex in the company of other magnetic complexes. Ideally, the lower complexes within the psyche should be magnetic in relation to a dynamic ego, but the ego is always magnetic in relation to the dynamic self. From the self's point of view, all of its complexes are its magnetic children or infantry. Hexagrams 7 and 8 should be studied together as reversed images to get a full comprehension of each. The images in the lines of discipline all deal with the management of forces as a coordinated whole. As long as they are under the firm command of the ego, who is only a general carrying out the orders of the self, things proceed successfully. If the discipline breaks down and the ego general loses control, defeat is certain. A quote from Yamamoto Tsunetomo, the Book of the Samurai. Narutomi Hoyogo said, "What is called winning is defeating one's allies. Defeating one's allies is defeating one's self. And defeating one's self is vigorously overcoming one's own body. It is as though a man were in the midst of 10,000 allies, but not one were following him. If one hasn't previously mastered his mind and body, he will not defeat the enemy." And now to read our changing line 2 from hexagram to Earth, or in James Dekorne's world, the magnetic is what he calls it. And again, line 2 has the general context. The heart's perception, the emotional center where you make and feel connections. And again, it's the most specific focus part of our reading, and its message always takes precedence over all other elements. This part we're about to read here. Similarly to, I just kicked the camera. Well, similarly to when we read our changing line in the Taoist I Ching. Line 2, leg. Second line, magnetic, shows the attribute of being straight, square, and great. Its operation without repeated efforts will be in every respect advantageous. Wu, true, methodical, and great. There will always be advantages for doing what comes naturally. Doing what comes naturally, as applied to this line, means doing completely in accordance with the will of heaven. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. The image shows us the brilliant result of the way of earth. Wilhelm/Baines. In the nature of the earth lies the light. Blowfold, this line indicates a straightforward movement to occupy a spacious area. Though nothing is done, everything prospers. This is a glorious characteristic of the terrestrial forces. Ritzema/Karcher. Straightening used on all sides indeed. Not repeating, without not harvesting, earthly Tao shining indeed. Cleary 2, unfailing benefit without practice, the way of earth is illumined. Miscellaneous notes. Straight indicates the correctness of the internal principle, and square the righteousness of the external act. Thus, the superior man, through self-reverence, maintains his inner correctness and adjusts his external acts accordingly. This establishment of reverent correctness ensures that his expressions of virtue are neither partial nor solitary. Such a one has no doubts about what he does. Leg. Line 2 presents to us the earth itself, according to the Chinese conception of it, as a great cube. Notes and paraphrases. Su. Nature's way is straight and unerring, foursquare and calm, great and tolerant. Everything is accomplished without the necessity of fabricated purpose. The man's work is equally self-evident. His internal principles are correct. His external acts are righteous. His results are certain. Wing. Drop all artifice about what you are doing. Take your cue from nature. Become tolerant, straightforward, and self-evident. Strike an inner equilibrium at this time and success will come easily. Editor. If the first line describes a condition which is inhospitable for growth, the second line describes the opposite idea, the receptive Mother Earth herself. This is the fertile matrix which brings forth life and provides for its nourishment. The image suggests a huge field with hundreds of freshly plowed furrows converging on the horizon. Straight, namely direct and open, clear and unambiguous. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Square, namely a universal description of firmness and stability. It suggests the quaternary of the 4 directions and symbolizes the earth, our material existence, and the corresponding sensation function in the psyche. To be foursquare is to be forthright, honest, firmly rooted in the world. Great, namely, gives the image of the fertile and boundless earth stretching out in all directions. Implicit in the line is the idea that no action is required. The passive earth forces bring forth all things in time. This suggests the mindlessness of natural processes which obey their own laws and not the ignorant expectations of men. A quote from Lao Tzu. The spirit of the valley never dies. It is called the mystic female. The door of the mystic female is the root of heaven and earth. Continuously, it seems to remain. Draw upon it and it serves you with ease. James Dekorne breaks changing line 2 down into 2 possible definitions, A and B. A suggests receptivity to experience. Life unfolds, flow with it. And B, the laws of nature are constant and unchangeable. They are the permanent matrix within which occurs all change. Allow the situation to develop at its own pace. Read from Hilary Barrett's I-ming, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. Hexagram 2, she calls Earth. Key questions. How are you being guided? How can you lend your strength? Oracle. Earth. From the source, creating success. The constancy of a mare bears fruit. A noble one has a direction to go. At first confusion, later gains a master. Fruitful in the southwest, gaining partners. In the northeast, losing partners. Peaceful constancy brings good fortune. Earth is first described in the same words as the creative force of Hexagram 1 because they are partners in the flow of creation. Creation unfolds from the original vital energy, creating success with an ongoing exchange between spirit and daily work, flowing through to fruition in earth through the constancy of a mare. The mare is strong, tireless, and incomparably fast, and she is acutely sensitive to the subtlest cues. When you have a mare's constancy, you will be steadily loyal to the truth and always alert and responsive to guidance. The noble one has a direction to go. She is purposeful. She has a destination in mind, but this doesn't mean she has her route to it already mapped out. And so at first there is confusion. You set out like a pioneer, open to all the possibilities, and find them as many as scattered rice grains. But later, since you have set yourself in motion, you can receive guidance. You gain a master. A master is someone who lights the way. You gain someone or something to be loyal to, where you can find fulfillment in service. Once you have this guiding principle, which may or may not be a person, you begin to follow signs as fluently as the mare. The Zhao people sought out allies in the southwest before venturing into the northeast to face the Shang. There is a balance to be found between joining with like-minded people and following your own calling alone. But gaining allies comes first. Perhaps your individual sense of purpose emerges more strongly when you've learned to work responsibly with others, like the mare running with the herd. And when you can spread your senses out to roam southwest and northeast without limit, you will be peacefully at home in the whole earth. Image. Power of the land, earth. A noble one with generous character carries all the beings. Through the power of the land, earth is heaven's partner in bringing the world into being. The sun needs a place to shine, rain a place to fall, and seeds need soil to grow in. Flashes of inspiration need space and time to expand and take shape. Great ideas need work to be realized. The power of the land is to provide everything needed for all things to find their shape. A noble one embodies this power in the deep generosity of her character. She certainly need never worry about the limits of her strength. And supporting hexagram 7, she calls the army. Key questions. What are you aiming for? How can you get more from your strengths? With all your efforts, are you creating the life you want? Oracle. The army with constancy. Mature people, good fortune, no mistake. When there is cause, the ruler raises an army. This is a time when everything revolves around a central objective. Inner and outer resources are realigned and ordered in accordance with it. It's important that a mature leader take responsibility, not least so that intensity of focus does not become blinkered vision or pure belligerence, turning everything that is not the goal into the enemy. Balancing the drive to get it done with a measured, disciplined approach allows you to achieve your objective effectively and with less collateral damage. Good fortune, without mistake. Image. In the center of the earth is a stream, the army. A noble one accepts the people and gathers together crowds. The stream within the earth flows strongly because the earth accepts and absorbs all the water that falls on it. A noble one builds an army with the same open acceptance. You can find your greatest strength in the flow of your whole self, by recruiting all your different character traits and hidden underground emotions. Sequence. The army follows from hexagram 6, arguing. Arguing naturally means that crowds rise up, and so the army follows. The army means crowds. First, you react with indignation against the status quo, then you begin to organize a way to change it. Crowds of people energies, and resources gather around that original focal point of grievance. The emotions that began as mere reactive indignation become an inner reserve of strength. Pair. The army forms a pair with hexagram 8, seeking union. Seeking union means delight. The army means grieving. The choices of seeking union are made freely, following natural affinity, as the streams flow together over the earth. Those of the army, those whose work is needed to prepare for seeking union, are driven by necessity. The ends must justify the means. When the army marches on its objective, look out for casualties and ruined fields. And then changing line 2 from hexagram 2, our primary hexagram, which changing line 2 again has the general context of the heart's perception, the emotional center, where you make and feel connections. Key questions. Line 2. Surveying the realm's greatness without rehearsal, there is nothing that does not bear fruit. Now you have a clear view of your direction to go, far across the realms of possibility and imagination. What grows in these strange fields is not anything you could plan for, and may not be anything you envisage. Hence, there is nothing to learn, practice, or train for. Better to leave all possibilities open than narrow them down by preparing for one particular outcome. The important thing is not how you prepare, but what guides you, far beyond what you can see now. Whatever materializes, this will bear fruit. I'm not going to take that many. I'll take 42. We'll read chapter 42 from the Tao Te Ching. This one has been translated by Jia Fu Fang and Jane English, and has pretty pictures in it. The Tao begot one. One begot two. Two begot three. And three begot the 10,000 things. The 10,000 things carry yin and embrace yang. They achieve harmony by combining these forces. Men hate to be orphaned, widowed, or worthless, but this is how kings and lords describe themselves. For one gains by losing, and loses by gaining. What others teach, I also teach. That is, a violent man will die a violent death. This will be the essence of my teaching.